Okay, just got back from Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, or Transformers 2, however you prefer to, call it. It's going to be a two-part. First, going to be base review, then I'll go into a little more spoilers and more in depth. Pretty much, if you like the first movie, it's about the same thing. You're going to see lots of special effects, robot on robot fighting. This time it's easier to tell who's who. However, there's a lot more robots, and most of them never get a name at all. So you really don't need to care about most of them. Like the 3 chick Autobot motorcycles. I don't recall a name. I don't recall them being called anything or actually really having much to do beyond the 2 fight scenes they're involved in. Most of the Decepticons tend to be soldiers of the fallen, so they really don't have anything really going for them. And, the things you liked about the first one, it's got a little bit of the crude slapstick humor. Nobody gets peed on. Well, no, nobody gets peed on. Skids and mud flaps, or mud flap. Yeah, I can see the racial stereotype. Yeah, it's kind of like, someone mentioned it's like Jar Jar. It is just a lot more tolerable because they're not there as often. But when they're there, it's pretty much idiotic dialogue. Whenever you hear it, you will hear kids laughing. That's why they're in there. You get decent amounts of background. This is kind of like huge action scene. Then sprinkle some comedy, maybe a little bit of the romance. Huge action scene. Backstory, huge action scene, a little bit backstory, and again, huge action scene, climax. That pretty much is your whole 2.5 hours. There's very, very little exposition, there's very little talking. The only Autobot who really talks, beyond the ones who switch sides, tends to be Optimus. Bumblebee, again, has the voice problem, so he talks through the radio. I'll give you some of the very bare basics of it. It's been 2 years since the first movie. The Autobots and humans are working together to try to destroy all the other Decepticons that they find. Sam drops part of the cube that he had with him. The kitchen becomes entirely transformed and he has to fight them all. Bumblebee comes out, destroys lots of stuff, and that's when he kind of goes, Bumblebee, I have to go away to college, I can't take a car with me. Megan Fox, you're going to stay here while I go to college. Here's a webcam, we'll chat, it'll be fine, it'll be great, it'll be cool. The little piece that fell down makes her going crazy again, just seeing all the symbols, all the signs. He's hunted down because he can use that spark to resurrect Megatron and to power a weapon that creates energon by destroying suns. And that essentially is the whole plot. It's Decepticons trying to get all the information from him, trying to get the parts that they need to resurrect Megatron, trying to find out, what information is within the map that is hidden inside Sam's brain to use the weapon that destroys the sun to create energon. All in all, the theater I saw it at had really bad sound, so I couldn't hear most of the dialogue. But this is an action movie. It's action, comedy, then I'd probably throw in drama. Good movie, very popcorny, decent amount of comedy to it, tons of action, lots of special effects, better than the first one, and the fights are much easier to understand. Because you can kind of tell, if it's a bright colored character, that's probably the good guy. Anybody else, it's the bad guy. And yes, you do get to see Devastator. Looks nothing like he did in the cartoon. He's not a giant green and purple robot. Instead, he's the weird thing they showed in the trailer that's sucking sand. Now I'm going to go into a little more of the spoilers. So if you just want to watch the review, this is done. You can click off now. No, you're fine. Go ahead. Go ahead. Okay. What he's trying to find is the matrix of leadership. I think that's the same thing that they had in the first Transformers, the movie, the cartoon, the device has been called the Matrix. The thing that was taken from Optimus Prime and used to destroy Unicron, as well as make Rodimus Prime, I want to say, was the one with the hot rod version of Optimus Prime. The woman who makes a beeline for Sam Witwicky, like the first day he shows up at college, is the Decepticon. That was decent, you know. I think it's the only time where Bumblebee doesn't come to Sam's rescue. It was fine. You know, I thought it worked. The scene where they kill Optimus Prime, that's pretty tense. Optimus Prime dies, Sam dies. Now, of course, this wouldn't be a good Transformer movie if Sam didn't come back to life, and Sam coming back to life creates or recreates the Matrix of Leadership, which is used to bring Optimus Prime back to life. Because only a Prime can defeat the Fallen, who is one of the original 7 Primes. Older robots are a lot more powerful. That's why when you see the Stealth Bomber, who is a super old Decepticon who becomes an Autobot, who walks with a cane, speaks with a heavy British accent, and can teleport from the Smithsonian to Egypt. The Fallen, apparently, who's the main villain, can teleport, and I guess controls gravity, because he was able to, you know, throw all the Army's equipment into the air, and then the Air Force showed up. He threw rubble from, you know, the pyramid, which of course had to house the weapon, and spun it around the pyramid and destroyed all the jets, and was able to pretty easily destroy an awful lot of Autobots by, like, teleport, stab, teleport, stab. You know, fairly impressive villain. So, you know, that's about it for the spoilers, because those actually are like the major plot points of the movie. A couple things I really didn't like that you'll see in the movie. I didn't like when the robot that Megan Fox kidnaps and like tortures becomes kind of like her pet and humps her leg in one scene. And Sam's mom eats pot brownies and goes crazy like instantaneously. So that, and of course I think John Turturro probably had a stunt butt for the one scene where he takes his pants off. Again, when you really can't hear all the dialogue, and the dialogue tends to be fairly short. I don't know why he took his pants off, but you see like cheek because he's wearing like a thong. So that's pretty much it for spoilers, because it is an action movie. There's very little in the way of, you know, major plot transitions. It's just an enjoyable movie. With, you know, the comedy isn't anywhere near as juvenile as it was in the first one, but it's still there, it's still present, and, you know, enjoyable movie all the way around.